Hi, this is Jim McCarty of the Yardbirds with John Broughton on Retrospectives, celebrating 25 years on the air on KC Radio 97.7 FM.
All right, in the very early days of the Yardbirds, your repertoire was mostly covers. Was that because the songwriting talents within the band had yet to develop, or was anyone writing at that stage?
Well, it was covers because that was the music we really liked. You know, that's how we got going. We heard this R&B coming out of America. There's all this black music, and we thought this is something we want to be involved in, and we loved playing it. And it wasn't until we got going that we realised that we could write songs.
Right. I'll test your memory a little bit here. Do you remember your first gig as the Yardbirds?
Yeah, the first gig was they wanted a band. We were sort of playing. You know, we started to rehearse together. That was like Keith and Paul, Chris, myself, and Topham actually. And we started to rehearse. And they needed a band over at Eel Pie Island, which is quite near where I live now. It's in Twickenham, in Middlesex, which used to be a sort of real rock and roll type R&B gig. And Cyril Davis and his All Stars were playing over there, and they wanted a band in the interval. So we went on and just played, and when we'd finished, Cyril Davis asked Keith what we were called, and Keith said, "Oh, call us the Yardbirds." So that was the first time I'd heard it. Cyril Davis said, "Oh, that was the Yardbirds."
Right, so you were named, actually christened after the gig.
Yes, that's right. So that was the first gig, and then actually that night, Cyril asked us to do a gig, one of his regular gigs that he couldn't do over in Harrow. So that was a couple of weeks later. We did the next gig.
Right. You did a bit of work with Sonny Boy Williamson in those early years too, didn't you?
Yes.
Remember how that came about? What that experience was like?
Well, Giorgio Gamowski, our manager at the time, he was involved in the National Jazz Federation in London, and they used to bring over the black blues singers over from the States every year, and they'd have a big blues concert, usually on somewhere like the Fairfield Hall, Croydon, or maybe in Manchester and Birmingham as well. And one year, I think it was probably 64, 65, Sonny Boy was included on this concert, and they decided to keep him over and play a few gigs around England. And it was, naturally, Giorgio being our manager, he got us to back him up. And it was his idea to do a gig at the Crawdaddy Club, where we always played every week, and do a live recording, which actually came out. But that was some experience. Sonny Boy was a great artist. Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Where and when did you first see Eric Clapton play, and what were the circumstances surrounding him joining the band?
Well, Topham, the original guitar player, was younger than the rest of us, and he was doing studies at art college, and his parents were very keen that he should finish his studies, and they didn't like the idea of him, playing around. It was pretty well every night, we were playing somewhere or other, and we were doing a lot of all-nighters, and they wanted him to carry on with his studies, so they sort of put pressure on him to leave the band, and it was Keith's idea, who suggested he knew this guy Eric Clapton from the art school days in Kingston, and he was a bit of a celebrity already. He played sort of blues guitar, and so he brought him down for a rehearsal down in Richmond, and that's how he formed the band, how he joined the band.
Right. Did he contribute much in terms of choice of material to record?
Yes, he had various ideas. we had obviously by the time he came in, we had a repertoire of blues songs. We actually chose that repertoire by because we used to go and see the Rolling Stones. They started playing just before us, and we used to see them. And, our repertoire consisted of songs that they didn't do. So we'd play the Chuck Berry songs that they wouldn't play, or Slim Harpo or Howling Wolf played different songs. That was our policy, and so we had a repertoire sorted out. But Eric suggested things like Hang On Sloopy and Respectable, and a few of the Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. A few of those songs were his idea.
Was it anyone's idea in particular to have your debut album be a live one? Because it's a rare move, really.
Yeah, I think the problem was that in the studios in London, we tried various recordings, and that the studio, we never really captured the excitement, because wherever we played, we always produced a very exciting sound, and everyone always jumped around and swung on the rafters, and went mad. And when we went in the studio, it all sounded so tame. So it was Giorgio's idea to take us, to record a gig at the Marquee, and we sort of captured it then.
Right. Do you ever recall that the first time you heard the band on the radio, and the feeling what that was like for you?
The first time, yeah. I'm trying to think. It was probably one of the early recordings we did, which was either Wish You Would or Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. That was, that was quite a strange thing, really. Suddenly hear yourself on the radio, and here's the Yardbirds. I mean, that got quite a lot bigger when we did For Your Love.
Of course,
that would be played quite a lot, and so you'd hear it all the time, and that was a good feeling.
Around when did you get the first indications that perhaps Eric wasn't entirely happy and was considering moving on?
Well, he was quite a moody guy in those days, and often we'd be travelling somewhere in the van, and he'd be in some sort of mood, and he'd be quite difficult to approach or talk to. And I think he had various ideas that were differing from the band. And he wanted us. We were looking for a hit single, because people like the Animals and the Moody Blues and other bands that we knew were having big hits, and we thought we really need a hit single to keep up. And we were looking around for material, and his ideas were sort of Motown type blues covers, and we actually found For Your Love when we were playing with the Beatles at the Christmas show. I think that was 1964. And there happened to be a publisher from Feldman's, part of EMI Publishers now, who saw us and came up with this Graham Gouldman song. And we just thought this was the sort of song that had hit potential, and also was quite moody and sort of suited our image.
Right.
And he didn't really like it. He didn't think it was bluesy enough, and that's when he put in his notice.
Right. So
I think it was sort of brewing up anyway. He had various personality differences with some of the members of the band, and he wasn't entirely happy anyway.
So that particular song was probably the straw that broke the camel's back, basically.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circumstances surrounding Jeff Beck joining up. Whose suggestion was that one?
Well, Jimmy Page used to come and see us quite a lot from time to time. He was a friend of Giorgio's, and he was top session player at the time. It was like him and Big Jim Sullivan did all the main sessions in London on guitar, and he used to like the band, and so we approached him first of all, and he said he wasn't interested because he was so busy doing session work and didn't really want to join a live band. So he recommended Jeff, who was like an understudy to him, that did sessions that he couldn't do.
Oh, yeah.
and Jeff was playing in a band called the Tridents, and they used to play, funnily enough, over Eel Pie Island, where our first gig was. Apparently, well, I didn't actually see him play, but Giorgio went over and approached him and suggested he came for a rehearsal with us, and turned out to be really good.
In hindsight, what stamp would you say Jeff put on the band that perhaps Eric didn't?
Well, I think he was more of a broader. He played in a broader spectrum to Eric. He wasn't just a blues player. He used to be influenced by people like Les Paul, and he could play all sorts of different sounds, and it was sort of more far-reaching than Eric's playing was, in a way. And I think that was quite interesting for us, and we could expand into different, different areas.
Right. Did your live repertoire change much at all, also with the changing guitarists? We changed gradually. We did things like I'm Not Talking and Ain't Done Wrong, and Train Kept a Rolling, things that became, they were really good Yardbird songs, and we still played things like Smokestack Lightning, some of the Chuck Berry stuff, but I think Jeff, was probably put the real Yardbird stamp on the sound, because those sort of songs were really what the Yardbirds are remembered for, I think. Yeah, sure. Looking back, could you perhaps put your finger on a point in time when you felt the band really came of age musically, turned the corner, so to speak?
I think it was in '66 that like Shapes of Things and I'm a Man and stuff like that. I think that was the zenith of the band, and I remember doing some gigs in the States, which were really, really good, and I really felt felt a lot of energy coming from the band, and felt this was great. I would say that was the time, really.
Yeah.
The other thing about Jeff was he was quite up and down as well, so it's quite unpredictable. And so sometimes we'd have a gig with him, and he'd lose his temper because he couldn't get his sound, and he might kick the amps off stage or something. So you never knew what was going to happen with him.
Of all those great recordings, some of them you just mentioned, was there one in particular that you knew the moment you had it down before it was released, or anything you just knew there was something special?
Yeah, I thought Shapes of Things had that quality to it.
Yeah.
I thought this is something that's got it's got a great tune, and got a fantastic guitar solo in it, and it's got a great sound, and it was recorded in Chess Studios in Chicago, and that got a much better sound, that I thought, than in the English studios at the time. Much better drum sound. And I thought, this is great. And it's still really my favourite Yardbird song.
Yeah. My impression of the band has always been that the musicianship has always counted more for its success rather than any pop star image or anything like that. Would that be a fair comment, do you think?
Yes, we were very uncomfortable with all the image side of it, and it was Giorgio's idea to wear these white suits. We were never really comfortable with that. We were just interested in creating this sound and creating excitement, really going for it when we played. And it was quite funny. We'd get quite embarrassed when people asked for our autographs, and people would scream and all that stuff.
Wasn't the scene at all.
Very odd.
I read recently where you said that you felt the band lost its way a little bit after Jeff and Paul left the band. In hindsight, would you maybe say it might have been better to call it quits at that point?
Yeah, I guess so in some ways. The only thing was, with Jimmy Page in the band, even though it wasn't so creative, it was sort of quite businesslike in terms of playing. And, Jimmy Page is much more predictable and much more businesslike in his playing. than the others, and so it was quite smooth, and the gigs were very smooth, and the tours were calm, quite well organised compared to some of the unpredictabilities of before. I don't think we had that sort of edge creatively that we had with Jeff and Paul.
Right.
Because they were both really creative musicians. I mean, great players.
They were big shoes to fill then when they left.
Yeah.
Of the three, Eric, Jimmy, and Jeff, who would you say had the greater songwriting contribution to the band?
Songwriting?
Yeah.
Well, none of them. I don't think none of them really wrote songs. I think Jeff was the most creative because he could, really make a song, really turn a song into something else and really stand a song on its head, like Over, Under, Sideways, Down was just a basic boogie, and then he put in that riff at the beginning, which I thought really improved it, like 100%. And he's really creative. I mean, I think Jimmy really got into the creative thing when he left as well. When we split up, when he went into Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah. I was watching the movie Blow Up the other night. It was on. It was on television over here.
Yeah.
One of many repeats.
An odd song, odd movie, isn't it?
Surely is. How did your involvement in that one come about?
Well, that was through our manager Simon Napier Bell that had some connections. It was after we got rid of Giorgio, because Giorgio, we found that even though Giorgio had loads and loads of ideas, we found we weren't really getting the sort of money that we were due. Well, we didn't think we were anyway, and so we got Simon Napier Bell, who was much more businesslike. And he had connections with the film business, and this thing came up. I think originally they wanted The Who, because Antonioni wanted this, scene with the smashing the guitar. So I think he'd seen The Who do it. He thought this was like, London of the times. But for some reason they turned it down, and so they approached us. And he asked us to write some songs for the film, and we came up with a few songs, and he didn't like those at all, and he wanted the Train Kept a Rollin', which we sort of had to make into Stroll On for copyright purposes.
Uh-huh. You were teamed up with producer Mickey Most also one stage there, weren't you? And you really produced a lot of commercial success. How would you sum up that association now in terms of quality of the material that it produced?
Well, I think we got to the point where we were very low on the creative input with the four-piece with Jimmy, and we were looking for another hit. And it was Jimmy's idea to go to Mickey Most, who was the #1 hit maker of the time. But in hindsight, it never really worked. I mean, a couple of the songs were okay, but a majority of them didn't really work for the band. And the album we did with him, in fact, he wasn't around most of the time.
Oh, really?
I mean, he just gave us a free rein, and we were playing sort of 50% songs that we did live, and 50% we were making them up.
Right. So he wasn't really having much say in the choice of material at all.
Not really, but he did on the singles. In fact, I think he chose all those singles himself, so they were like demos that came in, and he didn't really give the group a chance to write. Though, of course, the group was so busy, we didn't have much energy to do that.
Yeah.
Incredible that we did seem to do so much. We were only together for about 5 years.
Yeah, looking back, it just seems like so much longer.
Yeah, so much it seems like ages.
Yeah,
seems like a lifetime.
After you did eventually split, and Jimmy was going off to form his thing with Led Zeppelin, were you ever a possibility to be a part of that?
Yeah, in fact, I remember telling Jimmy, and we said we wanted to do something a bit different and do something a bit, more mellow, a bit quieter, and we were a bit fed up with bashing it out all, for years on end. And Jimmy actually said, well, I'll do it as well. And I don't know what happened. For some reason, we didn't carry on with him. So I think the Yardbirds would have stood for carrying on playing heavy stuff, and I don't think to change into Renaissance would have been quite right for the band. And so we went our different ways.
Skipping forward a few years, there was an outfit called Box of Frogs that you were involved with in the early 80s. Tell us a little about that one.
Well, that all came together when we were invited by the Marquee to do a 20th birthday show. An agent got in touch with us and said, how do you fancy doing this? And Chris and I were quite interested in doing it, and we asked Paul, and we got some other people in, and we did a couple of shows there. We used John Fiddler, he was doing some singing, and Mark Felton from 9 Below Zero. And from there we thought, oh, this is fun, why don't we write a few songs and see how it goes? So we did some songs, and then it gradually snowballed, and we managed to get Jeff Beck to play some tracks, and it became the Box of Frogs.
And how do you look back on that period now?
I thought that was good fun, because we did it mainly for the enjoyment, and it was quite pleasing that we could pull a few good songs together, and we thought, well, we can use different musicians, and it was quite, it was good fun all round, really.
I guess there wasn't that pressure on you as there would have been in earlier years, to
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And we first of all we were going to do an EP first of all, and we did about 3 or 4 tracks, and then CBS really liked it, Sony now, and they liked it, and they decided to do an album. So we were quite pleased.
Let's get forward to the present. Tell us about the current lineup that's doing the rounds.
Yeah, well, we reformed about 3 years ago. We were contacted, Chris and I, by an agent called Pete Broughton in Lancashire, who sounded a bit crazy, but he had all the energy needed to get the ball rolling, and we sort of quite liked him. And he was already handling the Animals. They reformed with Hilton Valentine and John Steele. And I'd been playing around pubs, playing blues, and so I knew the musicians. So we formed a band, and started playing blues venues, and it's gone on from there. Now the lineup is Chris and I. Chip Mayo, that used to play with the Feelgoods, he's on lead guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Then we've got a guy called John Iden from who's actually played with me in various blues bands, who's actually a very good guitar player, but he's playing bass and doing the lead vocals. And a guy called Laurie Garman that's also played with me quite a bit before, playing harmonica, who's played with loads of blues people on sessions and stuff. And we've just actually come back from a tour of America. We have been over to Australia.
Yeah, you're around mid-year or so. You're scheduled to be down here. That didn't make it to Melbourne, though, I don't think.
When was that? The last time we came?
Yeah, when was it?
It was not last year, the year before in January.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard word that you were going to be around here mid-year, around June. But I don't think it actually came about, did it?
No, I think there was an idea about that, but we did actually come over the Animals.
Yeah.
That would have been 96 or 95, 96.
Ah. Any chance of another visit in the near future?
Well, there's things come up. Yeah, I mean, the agent a few weeks ago was talking about coming over December, but I don't think that's going to work out.
Right.
But it's always a possibility. We enjoyed it, actually, when we came over.
Terrific. I thought there's many great live venues here.
Yes. It was a bit of an odd tour because we weren't really playing in the main cities. We played somewhere outside Melbourne, about 50 miles out.
Oh, really?
Some sort of strange suburb.
Goodness me. Oh, we'll have to get you.
I can't remember what it was called now.
We'll have to get you in the centre of town next time.
Yeah, it'd be much better to play the main cities.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's the extent of your touring these days? You're on the road a fair bit?
Well, we sort of play, we're playing either festivals or sort of theatres. We're playing we're averaging sort of, averaging one a week. We play one or two a week in England, and then we go abroad, play in France, Scandinavia. We just did a tour of the States in July and August, and possibly, come to Australia again and seeing how it goes, really.
Good mix of old and new fans coming to see you?
Yeah, it is actually. It's quite a cross section of people. Some youngsters. In fact, I remember in Australia there was a young band turned up. They had a Yardbirds tribute band.
Oh yeah.
I think they were from round Sydney way, and they were quite young. They were about 20 odd. So it's quite interesting when these people have never actually seen us, and then you get people that come and they've seen the band before at some obscure gig somewhere in the 60s. That's quite funny.
Yeah, a real cross section there. Are there any plans for studio recordings with this outfit?
Yeah, we've been in the studio actually. We're doing it very slowly because we're funding it ourselves, and we've done about half an album in the studio. We've done some recording in London, and we've also been down to Jeff Beck's house, and we recorded down there some tracks.
Oh, terrific.
So that's the plan.
And another little effort I want to ask you about is the Yardbirds experience.
Oh, right, yeah. That was quite a sort of a fun thing, really, just a bit of a one-off. That was got together by this guy from the States, Mike Ober, who's a bit of a character. And he wanted to put all the put various people together from 60s bands into sort of a jam type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he got that together a couple of years ago now.
Right, and who was involved
in that? That was quite good.
And who else was in that?
That was quite fun, playing with people like Eddie Phillips, who's a great guy and a great guitar player from The Creation. And also, I can't think of his name, from Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, Noel Redding, was it?
Noel Redding, that's it, yeah. He was playing, and we had various people from the Downline and Sect and other 60s London bands. But that was quite a laugh. Terrific.
Just looking back over the various lineups of the band, did you pin one down as your favourite?
Well, it's a very good lineup now, actually, but I think probably the Jeff Beck lineup would be the best, with Jeff and Paul, Chris, Keith and myself. Yeah, that would be my favourite, 1966 lineup.
Right, and in a nutshell, if you had to personally sum up the Yardbirds' contribution to rock and roll, what would you put it down as, or the main part anyway?
I suppose we were always looking forward, and we were always trying to think of something different. And our contribution, I suppose, would have been that we were pretty original, and we had something that no one else really did. Combination of all the people in the band, and something that we were always looking to do. It was a bit different and a bit off the wall.
Right. And just finally, any regrets at all? Anything, given the chance, you'd love to go back and change?
Well, I suppose we could have, if we'd had the right management, we could have probably kept going instead of folding up, maybe, because it seemed the same for quite a lot of the bands in those days. It was everything was around playing all the time. Everything was based around doing tours, and you seemed to be touring all the time, playing somewhere every night, and it was very, very exhausting. And it might have been nice just to have a break off for a few months and just relax, and then maybe do it a bit on a bit of a sane level.
Right. Tackle it again.
That might have kept the band together.
And we'll never know, hey, I guess?
We'll never know.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, looks, I won't hold you up anymore. Thanks very much.
John.
Thanks very much for your time. All the best, and hope we'll see you down here in the not-too-distant future.
All right, John. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.